You know that feeling when you just feel stuck in a rut? Or maybe like you're constantly fighting this big uphill battle? Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful framework that lays out 7 different levels of thinking. Think of it like a map of consciousness, and it might just change how you see yourself and, well, everything around you.
So let's just start with a really direct question to get you thinking. What level of consciousness are you on? As we go through each of these levels, just see if you can spot where you might be right now. You might actually be surprised by what you find out.
Now, our source material for this brings up a pretty powerful idea that there are 7 distinct levels of human thinking. And this isn't just about, being a positive or negative person. It's a really detailed progression, almost like a ladder of awareness that any of us can potentially climb. Okay, let's dive right in. So here it is. This is the map for our journey today. We're starting at the bottom with the sleeper, and we're going to climb all the way to the top to the creator. Let's really get into what each of these levels means, starting from the ground up. So these first 2 levels, they're really defined by a sense of friction, of conflict with the world outside of you. This is where a lot of us start our journey. And honestly, a lot of the time we don't even realize it. Level 1 is called the sleeper. You can almost think of it as the default setting for consciousness, a state where it feels like life is just happening to you, not for you. The sleeper just feels stuck. They're often really unhappy with how things are, but they just don't see a clear path out. There's this feeling of being on a treadmill, running and running, but never actually getting anywhere. This mindset has some really clear signs. Life feels like this monotonous loop: work, home, repeat. And this is crucial. The source of all the unhappiness is always somewhere out there. It's always someone else's fault. Bad neighbors, a terrible boss, you name it. And because of that constant blame, there's just no space left for personal goals or any real drive to make things better. Now let's take a step up to the warrior. This is a huge leap from the passivity of the sleeper. The warrior is all about taking action. But the way they approach life is, well, it's fundamentally different.
So unlike the sleeper, the warrior gets things done. They can achieve their goals, they can find success. But, and this is a big but, their core belief is that life itself is a battle. Everything has to be fought for, and victory only ever comes through struggle and sheer force.
For the warrior, absolutely nothing comes easy. They might be successful, yeah, but it's always the result of some hard-won fight. And living in that constant state of conflict, it also builds up a really strong ego. Their whole identity gets wrapped up in the battles they've won and the struggles they've managed to overcome. But you can imagine that constant struggle of the warrior phase. It's exhausting. And eventually, a person might just hit a breaking point and start to wonder, is there a better way to live? There has to be. And that's the turning point. This brings us right to level 3, the seeker. And you could argue this is the most important stage in the entire journey because it's where that conscious self-awareness really truly begins to blossom. The seeker has this incredibly powerful realization. The old way, that constant struggle, it just isn't working anymore. They know they want something different, but the path forward, it's not clear, and that can be pretty scary. So they start searching for answers, for knowledge, for a whole new way of being. And that search leads to level 4, the personality. This is where all the knowledge the seeker was looking for starts to transform into real, true wisdom. The how and why of the universe just starts to click into place. At this level, a person has this clear, deep understanding of how the world really works. That constant fight is gone, and it's replaced by a sense of calm. They've started to consciously work on their own ego, and with this newfound understanding, they can now actually guide other people and explain their worldview with total clarity. So once that understanding is fully integrated, we start to move into the higher levels of consciousness. This is where life transforms from a struggle into a state of mastery and flow. Let's see what that looks like. Welcome to level 5, the player. This is a quantum leap from those earlier levels. Here, the entire approach to life shifts from work to play. Now, what's so powerful here is the contrast. I mean, just look at the difference. The warrior operates through struggle, battle, and hard work. The player, though, they operate from a place of ease, play, and flow. Success, love, money, it all comes to them playfully. They don't overcomplicate things. They just trust the process. Taking it another step further, we arrive at level 6, the magician. This level is about more than just navigating reality. It's about consciously shaping it. The magician understands that reality isn't a single fixed path.
It's more like a tree with all these different branches, and each branch represents a different potential reality. From this really advanced state of consciousness, they can consciously choose which branch they want to experience. Life becomes a matter of deliberate selection. And this leads us to the seventh and final level. This is the absolute pinnacle of consciousness, where the line between you, the observer, and reality itself, well, it starts to dissolve.
The crucial point here is this. The Creator knows, without a single doubt, that they have a direct line to the source of all creation, whether you call it God, the universe, or the Most High. They get that no gurus, no priests, no intermediaries are needed for that connection. It's direct.
And this quote just illustrates that final leap perfectly. The magician chooses from realities that already exist, but the Creator, they go beyond that. They don't just pick a path. They draw the entire map themselves. Their world literally unfolds exactly as they envision it.
And that leaves us with a final, really powerful question for you to consider. If you had the pen in your hand, if you could move beyond choosing and just start drawing, what would your reality look like? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.